Some of you may have seen some of my health-related videos, some health tips. The question is, John, why did you get started on this journey? What prompted you to take your health, your diet more seriously? So here's the story. My father had a pretty lengthy history of cardiovascular disease. Many years ago, my primary care doctor suggested that I get a heart scan to measure calcium in the coronary arteries, and I did that. And the score came back very high. I was actually in another state at a deposition. He called me on my cell phone after the test was taken and said, John, stop exercising. You have coronary artery disease. Come and see me as soon as possible. So I did that. I walked into his office and he said, John, I've seen scores of maybe 100, maybe a little more. Yours is 600, greater actually than 600. And to make matters worse, it's all in the left anterior descending. We call that the widowmaker. You need to see a cardiologist ASAP. I go to the cardiologist. He tells me that I need to do a catheterization. We need to see the amount of blockage in your heart. This is a very significant calcium score. In the interim, between the primary care doctor and the cardiologist, I'd done a lot of reading. I'd actually gone to the Cleveland Clinic and listened to a man named Caldwell Esselstyn, who had conducted a study by taking people who the Cleveland Clinic had given up on. Cleveland Clinic is very famous for their heart care, but they had given up. These people were terminal. Dr. Esselstyn put them on a very strict vegan diet, and he was successful with it. In doing my research, I saw a YouTube video on Dr. Esselstyn, and he's at a podium, and he stands up and he says, coronary artery disease, heart disease, this is a paper tiger. And I thought, wow, that guy's got a lot of nerve. You know, coronary artery disease, maybe the leading cause of death, or certainly one of them in the United States. But I went to a seminar. I thought it was a powerful and compelling presentation. And one of the things he advocated, in addition to the low-fat, vegan-style diet, was eating a lot of dark green leafy vegetables. They contain nitric oxide, which, as I understand it, dilates the blood vessels. So he's a big advocate on kale, spinach, any sort of dark green leafy vegetable. Bottom line, I told my cardiologist, I'm not going to do the catheterization. I'm going to do this diet. And I did. And I was on a cholesterol lowering medication, minimal dose. Fast forward many years later, a couple of decades actually, I've never had a symptom. Not that I'm recommending this for everybody or necessarily anybody, but it has worked for me. I don't do a strict vegan diet at this point. I did for a number of years, but I certainly don't do any meat. I do limited dairy, typically in the form of yogurt, something of that nature, rarely cheese, but I do egg whites, for example, things of that nature to get sufficient protein in my diet. And bottom line, it has worked well for me. I've been symptom-free really forever. I never had a symptom. I'm grateful for the work of Dr. Esselstyn. If you ever want to read any of his books, this is an issue for you. There's also a doctor by the name of Dean Ornish, a cardiologist who has published a number of papers, written some books, who advocates a similar theory.